What's going on, shoe fanatics? Welcome back to the channel. We are back at it again. I hope you guys enjoyed your Memorial Day weekend. I was out of town, so my package was just sitting here. And you know, like how YouTube algorithms work, sometimes if you don't have early reviews, you're late to the party. Early reviews are king of YouTube. That being said, this pair is special and I want to get on camera to talk about it. So let's go ahead and jump right into it right now. While I am extremely excited to have this shoe, one of the most disappointing things is the regular Nike Jordan 1 box. All year long, everything from the Skyline box, the Vibrations of Nausea, to the White Cement or the Elephant Print Jordan 1s. Every single one of those pairs had a special box, but this actual special shoe, we get this. Like I always say, I am a sucker for a special box, but ultimately, it's not the box you wear, it's what's inside that counts. Size tag reads Air Jordan 1 Retro High OG SP, SP of course Special Projects, University Red and Black. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm beyond pleased to present to you the Air Jordan 1 Miles Morales Spider-Man 2.0, aka Next Chapter. Yes, indeed, the second pair from the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse universe comes home. It's the Air Jordan 2.0 Spider-Man, the Next Chapter. This shoe is absolutely, positively polarizing to say the least, but let's talk about the shoe and then we're gonna talk about the shoe. First and foremost, you have your standard Air Jordan 1 Remastered version 2 series style shoe. For those of you who don't know, go back and look at my other videos. I detail what Remastered version 2 exactly means. So I'm gonna try to go outside and give you guys some B-roll, hopefully right about here. But if you look, you have the radial traction and a glow in the dark. Now, it's not exactly glow in the dark. It just glows. Essentially, it reflects the light and you see that bright, sole on the bottom of it and that nice radial traction pad. This is a staple of the Air Jordan 1 being a radial traction pad, that is, but this glowing is new for this particular shoe. Coming up to the midsole, you have a light colored midsole. Again, that white color, that's standard of every Air Jordan Chicago color blocking. Now the lateral and medial side upper, that's where things get interesting. Of course, a lot of people did not vibe with this shoe. There's a lot going on, but when you really think about it and reduce it to the entire point of the shoe, it's really simplistic in its nature. Before I get to that though, let's try to detail some of the material changes on the shoe. Around the toe cap, we have a flat leather. Basically, there's no tumble to the shoe. A lot of people are getting really accustomed to having tumbled leather on their Jordan 1s, but this one is a smooth, flat leather. Now around the eye stays, this is where things are interesting. The eye stay is split half and half. Right here at the lace part of the eye stay, you have a patent leather, which is actually pretty nice. Patent leather, not the first time patent leather's been on the Jordan 1, but it's really nice right here. Now down here in the second half is a new buck-ish type of leather. It's not quite suede, but it definitely is rough. And again, it has some kind of simulated material feel to it. On the middle of the eye stays here, you have another kind of flat leather material. It doesn't feel like the best, but still leather, I still believe. But again, you have that pattern here on that leather material. I'll talk about why that pattern is there on both the lateral and medial sides a little bit later on. You have the same material here on the upper collar, and up top you have a black patent leather design. The side paneling is again a smooth white leather with a patent leather black swoosh. I can never get this right, but I think the one that pops out is the deboss and the one that goes in is the emboss. This almost doesn't seem to be either one. You have the traditional ball and wings logo, but this one here is more like a sticker almost. It's just put on top of it. It's a weird kind of design. And of course, at the back heel, again, a split design with that pattern suede nubuck, and then there's a regular color University Red color down here at the bottom. So as far as the tongue is concerned, this thing is pretty stiff. It's either packed with a lot of padding and foam or just kind of, stitched real tight. But this thing is, look at it. It's up there. The tag itself is not your traditional Jordan 1 tag. Typically, you have a tag that's stitched here and it kind of wraps over the back. This one is almost like a patch, which is just stitched to the front of the tongue. On the interior, I'm not sure if the camera's gonna pick this up, but you do have a black insole with the Nike Air logo in red. And standard with the shoe is a black cotton lace, nothing different about that. Surprisingly enough, there are no spare pair of laces with this particular shoe. So as far as the build and construction of this particular shoe, it's kind of it. Now, as far as the theme of the shoe, it's kind of like, this is the reason why. For those of you who don't know, Sony's Into the Spider-Verse came out a couple years ago, and that is a comic book movie adaptation which stars young Miles Morales, who is a Spider-Man in another universe, not, like our 616 Spider-Man. In that movie, Miles Morales is a very young man. He's part of the culture, as you would say, is a young minority, and so all things cultured, he is a part of it. Now, in that particular movie, he wears the Air Jordan 1 in the Chicago color blocking. And so to commemorate that collaboration, Jordan released the Air Jordan origin story in 2018. Now, as you can see, this one does follow your traditional Chicago color blocking. Pretty much, it looks like a run-of-the-mill Jordan 1 Chicago, except it does have Band-Aid dots, which is a style used when Spider-Man was first created by Steve Ditko and Stan Lee, and it has these dots all over it. Now, a lot of people can kind of do without the dots. Me personally, I think it sets the shoe apart from a standard Chicago colorway, and I think it's really, really nice. I mean, I just do. Another little tidbit about that is it has a blue tongue tag instead of a traditional white and red one, as well as the swoosh is actually outlined in a black patent leather, while the inside of it is a black matte leather, giving you some kind of, cell shading, motif to the actual shoe itself. Real quick, as you can see between the Jordan 1 origin story and the Jordan 1 next chapter, you do see they both have special soles. This one just has a translucent sole to kind of talk about how Miles has translucent or invisible powers in the movie. And I think it's really great they found a way to incorporate that power into this shoe, which makes me that much more excited to see what this actually represents when the movie comes out, I believe June 2nd. Now, without even having seen Into the Spider-Verse Part 2, which is now called Across the Spider-Verse, I do believe, you kind of get where this shoe gets its theme. In Into the Spider-Verse Part 1, the characters come from different dimensions, and as such, they are actually unstable while living in Miles Morales' dimensions. Now, that unstable state of being causes them to glitch out every now and again. I expect more of the same in the sequel, and thusly the glitch theme is applied right here onto the shoe. What you have is a shoe that literally is a Chicago 1 that goes across the Spider-Verse. And each one of these patterns on the shoe is a representative of the different dimensions the shoe has traveled in. And in my estimation, that kind of detail is what makes this shoe really, really special. So what was actually weird to me is not necessarily the shoe itself. I think the shoe itself is well done, very well executed, and it carries the theme present and, accountable very well. Now, to me, that's what makes the shoe done very well. Its execution, its presentation, all fits within the theme of the Spider-Verse motif as a whole. But like normal, people, sneakerheads as it were, just can't keep their opinion straight. Now, I'm not gonna go ahead and say that I absolutely love this shoe from the very beginning, but being that I am a comic book fan, a fan of Jordan 1s, I knew I wanted to get this shoe, if nothing else, but to tell the story. But part of the problem with the culture today is a lot of people are either looking for a quick buck or something that they're already familiar with. So when official images of this shoe dropped, their reaction was lukewarm, to say the best. And a lot of it is because people covet the Chicago colorway so bad. And to be fair, they either want to wear it, or to be unfair, they either want to cop it to kind of sell it. And either way, for those people, this shoe didn't quite fit the bill. But when you really stop and think about it, I mean, we've got a lot of Chicago colorways within the last 6 years, to say the least. At the very least, you have your standard Chicago Jordan 1, which I believe came out 2015. You have your Lost and Found, which came out twice in 2022 and again here in 2023. And I'll be the first to admit the actual cop process wasn't the easiest, but I mean, it did come out twice. And of course, you have this version of the Spider-Verse, the Jordan 1 origin story, which came out 2018. So I mean, you have Chicago colorways in aplenty. At this point, in my opinion, it was great to have some kind of fresh take on the Chicago Jordan 1. But that, of course, is sneakerhead behavior 101. I'm cool on that. It's growing on me. This is a must cop. How much can I resell it for? Is there a way to return it? Because speaking of resale, this thing is actually pretty low. I mean, at the time of the shoe releasing, it was down to around $250 on most sizes. And this shoe did retail for $200, which is $20 more than your standard Air Jordan 1, which is quite surprising considering we didn't get this much presentation. So the last 2 points I do want to make, being that this was a late review, we did see that there was a special box that our favorite DJ, Mr. DJ Khaled, did in fact get a full-size run of these. And in his particular size, he got a special box. I just so happen to think that for the price tag of $200, at the very least, a special box should have been included. I did not get the special box version of this when it came out, but I do know that there is a special box that has a Miles Morales, I think, insignia on it. And that was enough for me to say, okay, you know what? That's just pretty cool in my estimation. The only other thing I would talk about is how there's no official branding between Sony and Nike or Marvel and Nike. I don't want to wax poetic too much about licensing issues. Suffice it to say, right now, Sony currently owns the movie rights to the Spider-Man character. And what that means is, aside from the Sony movies that you actually see, whenever Spider-Man appears in the MCU, he's actually on loan. Even before the Blade movies led by Wesley Snipes, or the 2008 blockbuster Iron Man starring Robert Downey Jr., Spider-Man probably then up to now has been one of the most popular Marvel characters basically out. And Sony knows that, so no matter what cachet of films they try to put out, Spider-Man will always be their bread and butter. And thusly, they hold their licensing pretty tight. Subsequently, after the release of the first Into the Spider-Verse movie that released this shoe, I believe Adidas and Sony, or maybe Adidas and Marvel, struck a deal to release Miles Morales themed shoes, which I don't see a lot of people talking about. I don't see a lot of people wearing them. They didn't have a good look to me, and I believe they even had a couple of shoes that were just for kids, which makes a lot of sense, but it didn't kind of move the needle the same way this particular shoe did. Some people are going to say that this particular shoe did not live up to the hype of this particular shoe. I mean, again, it's a Jordan 1 Chicago. It's kind of hard to beat when you really think about it, but for all intents and purposes, this one definitely does fill the void and kind of continues on that lineage for the next Spider-Man movie. For all that being said, guys, thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to getting this guy outside. And until the next one, man, this has been the Air Jordan 1 Next Chapter, aka the Miles Morales Spider-Verse 2.0. I have been Jay Shoe Fanatic. If you enjoyed this thorough, detailed review, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, most importantly, and stay tuned for the next one, man. I'm out of here. Black Snow. Oh, the original cut. There it absolutely is. I might like it better than the 2020 version.